Good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the WBO welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence Bud Crawford, superstar boxer. 37 wins, no losses, no draws, 27 big wins by way of knockout. He's 33 years of age, stands at 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. Last time we saw him in the ring was November 14th of 2020 when he took on defeated former IBF welterweight world champion, British superstar boxer Special K. Kell Brook. With that said, Terence Crawford, he responds multiple times now to undefeated rising Mexican superstar title contender Vergil Ortiz Jr., who's 18 wins, no losses, no draws, 18 big wins by way of knockout. He's 23 years of age, stands at 5'10" with a 70-inch arm reach. He just recently beat a former foe of Terence Crawford and Igis Kavalaskas, who he stopped a round ahead of Terence Crawford, but he dropped Igis Kavalaskas 5 times in that fight. He was very, very impressive, but he was buzzed a few times by Igis Kavalaskas. He was hurt by Igis Kavalaskas, but he was resilient, okay? He made adjustments. He started to control the distance, the range, started landing big, clean punches on Igis Kavalaskas, ultimately dropped him 5 times and got a stoppage victory. With that said, after the fight, Vergil Ortiz Jr., he called out Terence Crawford. Now he's the WBO interim champion. We know 2-time welterweight world champion, superstar boxer Showtime Shawn Porter has placed himself. Initially, he was the #1 challenger in the WBO ranking system, World Boxing Organization ranking system, and the mandatory challenger for Terence Crawford. But after Vergil Ortiz beat former WBO junior welterweight world champion, superstar boxer Maurice Mighty Mo Hooker, after he beat Maurice Mighty Mo Hooker, who was the WBO champion at junior welterweight, they flipped it. Vergil Ortiz was at #2, Shawn Porter was at #1, and then immediately they flipped it. But they ordered Terence Crawford to start to begin to negotiate with Shawn Porter, gave him 30-day window, or was going to go to a purse bid, which he would get the 60-40 lion's share of the negotiations. With that said, Shawn Porter's in that position, but now Vergil Ortiz, he's placed himself in position to warrant a fight with Terence Crawford as well in the very near future. So Terence Crawford, he responds to Vergil Ortiz, and he tells Vergil Ortiz Jr., after the call out, and we know legendary Hall of Fame retired, iconic superstar boxer Bernard the Executioner Hopkins, who is, a partner with Golden Boy Promotions, Oscar De La Hoya, and he promotes Vergil Ortiz Jr. He was calling for the fight between Terence Crawford and Vergil Ortiz. Vergil Ortiz is now calling for the fight, telling Terence Crawford, don't avoid him, don't duck him. And Terence Crawford has now responded, and he told Vergil Ortiz Jr. that he needs to focus and enjoy his victory over Igis Kavalaskas. I told you he could punch when he hurt you. And then Terence Crawford, he stated that enjoy your victory before it ends bad for you. Okay? We know previously Terence Crawford, he stated, man, these guys love to use my name for promotion, right? After the fight, after Vergil Ortiz called him out, he said, these guys love to use my name for promotional reasons, okay? So now he stated that, for sure, you need to focus on your fight, focus on your enjoying your victory before ultimately I end your career, okay? So with that said, we know this happened with Terence Crawford before, when undefeated rising Mexican star boxer Jose Benavidez Jr. approached Terence Crawford, and he started calling for Terence Crawford to give him a fight, and Terence Crawford told him, focus on your career and focus on your next fight before you don't make your next fight, before essentially I end your career. That's what Terence Crawford told Jose Benavidez Jr. And ultimately, they got the fight they were looking for, that being Jose Benavidez Sr. and Jose Benavidez Jr. And Terence Crawford, he stopped Jose Benavidez Jr. And ultimately, Jose Benavidez Jr. has never fought since. I personally believe that it's far too early for Vergil Ortiz to deal with somebody as technically sound, as versatile, and has as much power in both hands with as high ring IQ as Terence Crawford for Vergil Ortiz. Vergil Ortiz has a lot of limitations, okay? Vergil Ortiz has very slow feet. Vergil Ortiz doesn't have the fastest hands in the world. Now, Vergil Ortiz, he definitely could get the job done, okay? He definitely, has power. He definitely showed the ability to make adjustments against Igor Kavaliauskas. He definitely showed that he has a great jab. He is technically sound, but he's limited in athletic ability. And so Terence Crawford will find a way to get around that jab. He's going to make adjustments. He's going to switch from southpaw to orthodox. He does so fluidly. Okay, he makes defensive adjustments. Terence Crawford is going to focus on the type of fighter that you present. Okay, the issue that you present in the ring, he's going to make adjustments to. Like I said, Jose Benavidez Jr. was 27 wins, no losses, no draws, 18 big wins by way of knockout. At 6 feet tall with a 75-inch arm reach. Very long, very lanky guy, right? And he last fought, Terence Crawford told him, focus on your fight, focus on your career before I end it. And guess what? That was October of 2018. We are in August of 2021, and Jose Benavidez Jr. has still yet to step in the ring. Now, he's scheduled to make his ring return in 2 weeks, but it's been 3 years since he's been in the ring since that Terence Crawford fight. And when you talk about Vergil Ortiz Jr., he's still very young. Yes, they have a common foe in Igor Kavaliauskas. Igor Kavaliauskas is very limited in his athletic ability, okay? You make adjustments to Igor Kavaliauskas, who also has shown to have stamina issues as well. Now, I wouldn't have been surprised. I said if Igor Kavaliauskas could definitely win this fight against Vergil Ortiz Jr. Now, Vergil Ortiz Jr., and I said that I wouldn't be surprised if Vergil Ortiz Jr. win the fight, okay? But he showed me that he has resilience. He faced adversity, he made adjustments, and he ultimately beat Igor Kavaliauskas. But Igor Kavaliauskas is not the fastest guy in the world. His biggest attribute is his timing and his counterpunch ability. He doesn't have fast feet. He doesn't have fast hands. He has power, respectable power. He has good head movement at times, but he gets hit with the jab a lot. And he has good timing. He times your punches when he's countering you, okay? But he's not the quickest guy. He's not the slickest guy. He's not very versatile. He's straight up and down, no special effects, like Floyd Mayweather said, okay? He's not going to present to you so many different angles and things of that nature. He's going to be right there in front of you. He's not going to utilize the ring. He's not going to give you different angles. He's not going to be on his toes. He's not going to be slick on defense. He's not going to be slipping punches, and countering you with speed and angles. It's not what he's going to do. He's rough, rugged. He's going to make it a tough fight, and he's coming forward. Tailor-made, for a guy like Vergil Ortiz Jr., right? Great test. But Terence Crawford can switch from orthodox to southpaw, which is going to give Vergil Ortiz Jr. some looks that he's never seen before. Terence Crawford has extremely long arms at 74-inch arms, okay? At 5'8", he has 74-inch arms. So he has extremely long arms. So he can touch you with a distance that you think maybe you're out of range or in range, and he can still touch you, okay? He can switch from orthodox to southpaw. He's knocked out his last 6 opponents straight, okay? 6 straight opponents, okay? All in which Jeff Horn, bigger than him. Jose Benavidez Jr., bigger than him. Mir Khan, same size as him. Igor Kavaliauskas, slightly shorter. Kell Brook is bigger than him. So, he's dealing with guys, Julius Indongo, bigger than him. You understand? So he's used to being in the ring with a size disadvantage, but he has extremely, extremely long arms. And now, again, he's going into a purse bid with Sean Porter, and he beat Sean Porter, right? His experience level, along with his ring IQ and his ability to make adjustments, it's too much for Vergil Ortiz right now, okay? Vergil Ortiz doesn't have fast feet, doesn't have fast hands. He has to rely on timing, okay? Like one of my favorite fighters, my favorite Mexican fighter of all time, Juan Manuel Marquez, okay? He didn't have the fastest feet. He didn't have the fastest hands. He relied on timing, okay? And counterpunch ability and his technique and his ring IQ. That's what got Juan Manuel Marquez to the status that he is. That's why he had such close fights with Manny Pacquiao, okay? But when Juan Manuel Marquez fought guys like Floyd Mayweather, he lost badly because he just didn't have the athletic ability to keep up with these guys in their movements, their sudden movements, their lateral movements, and their quickness. He didn't have it, okay? When you look at his fight, even when you look at a guy with Timothy Bradley, who's not a big puncher but has a high ring IQ, is a great athlete, okay, and can have and utilizes lateral movement and quickness. Timothy Bradley outclassed Juan Manuel Marquez. Even at one point in time, dropped him. Okay, why? Because he just was athletically superior to Juan Manuel Marquez. Okay, he wasn't more technically sound, but Timothy Bradley is as technically sound as Juan Manuel Marquez with a high ring IQ, which equals his athletic ability was the difference in the fight. He was able to get in and get out. But now, his athletic ability wasn't enough for Manny Pacquiao. But the timing for Marquez was enough for Manny Pacquiao because Manny Pacquiao is predictable. So with that said, Vergil Ortiz Jr. is going to be predictable for Terence Crawford. And Terence Crawford understands this. Terence Crawford has power in both hands. He can switch from orthodox to southpaw. It's going to give Vergil Ortiz looks that he's never seen before. And this ultimately can derail Vergil Ortiz Jr.'s confidence and his ability moving forward should they put him in the ring with Terence Crawford. Because it's good. It could get so bad that he may not recover from this type of a loss. Now, anything can happen. He has power, but it's how you deliver it. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for you. Peace.
This is Amanda, the real deal Serrano, and you're watching Blue Blood Sports TV.